Good morning and welcome back to Visit Fylde Coast. It's Thursday, which must mean that it's digger day, and I've popped up to Larcombe to start this video because now the guys are working back at Cleveleys and it's causing a little bit of interest because they've suddenly popped back up again. So I thought we'd start here and I can show you what it's going to kind of look like when they've finished. So this is all about the beach works at Cleveleys and what they're doing and why they're doing it and how it's going to work. So if you aren't already subscribed to Visit Fylde Coast, make sure that you are. Make sure that you've got all your notifications enabled and make sure that you signed up for your Visit Fylde Coast email newsletter. You can get it at visitfyldecoast.info/newsletter. There's already about 30 different videos about this beach management project on our YouTube channel. So there's plenty to look at and plenty of ones to kind of troll back through. Right, let's go and have a look, shall we? See what we can see. Look at that for a view. It's an absolutely beautiful morning. There's a bit of a breeze blowing. You can see all the way across to the lakes, look, over there. There's a bit of a breeze blowing, but it's lovely. It's sunny, it's quite warm. It's lovely, and look at all this beach. This is literally a stone's throw from Cleveleys. If you just walk a bit further north, and you might just be able to see Blackpool Tower in the distance. So this is the Russell Coastal Defence Scheme, and this was a whopping great big job that completed, well, quite some years ago now. It must be about 6 or 7 easily. And it's a huge job, a big capital job that stretches from Westway, which is sort of here-ish, all the way along the seafront at Larcombe and across Russell School, all the way down to the golf course, where the golf course starts at Chatsworth. And this was a massive programme, so this completely rebuilt all of the seawall. All of this new wall up here is all brand new, and it's a stepped defence in sections. So Cleveleys is not having anything remotely like this, but it is having groins which are very similar to these. So I thought we'd start here. We'll start at the end. We'll start at the end and work our way back to the beginning. So these groins are at similar spacings to Cleveleys. You'll see better how much they look like they've disappeared when we get back up onto the pathway. They're made of exactly the same kind of rocks, so they're a mixture of limestone and granite, and they're roughly the same size, roughly the same spacings. I won't want to take a tape measure and measure them to the millimetre, but round about the same. And you can see how much they've disappeared. They've not sunk into the beach because there's a strong geotextile membrane right at the bottom of all of these groins, which stops the rocks from sinking into the beach. It's the beach material which is collected and come up around them. So in this central section here, you can see they've just about disappeared. And a good groin is like an iceberg. Most of it is underneath the beach, and there's just a little bit of rock at the top. And you can see these white rocks here as well. This is where the beach is dropped a little bit in recent weeks, so it's been up at that level mostly, and all this rough windy weather we've been having in this glorious British summer has just washed some of it away in a few spots. Not all the way along, as you can see, but just in 1 or 2 spots. So there's obviously a little bit there that's being higher at some stage. So these groins are exactly the same kind of thing that they're building at Cleveleys, and a lot of you are mystified by these crossover ramps. So this is a Fleetwood crossover ramp, which is slightly different to a Cleveleys one in that it's got this little wall down both sides. So our ramps at Cleveleys are literally just the flat concrete bit in the middle. So that's all we've got. And they allow safe, convenient access for pedestrians. So if you're on the beach and you're walking your dog or whatever you're doing, and the tide starts coming in, you can get up and over, and you can get to the nearest set of steps, and you can get up and off the beach, and you can carry on walking safely. So the ramp that's underneath the beach here This is being built in exactly the same way that the ones are being built on Cleveleys Beach. So it's been cast in sections, actually on the beach with those big metal blocks, and then they've put the edging stones down the edge. So we've not got them. They're not at Cleveleys. But the reason that I've come to Larcombe this morning to show you this is because you can see how much it's all built up. So this ramp is as big as the ones on Cleveleys Beach, and that ramp connects with a concrete path and an edging like this all the way up to these steps here that go up to the sea wall. And the whole lot and the joining section here where it meets the wall has just disappeared. It's disappeared under the beach. In fact, as I'm standing here, I would say that rock there, that bottom rock, is about on my eye level, and that must be 5 foot. So there's a good sloped gradient in this area here, which is the thing that really does the heavy lifting work at reducing flooding and big waves and overtopping. So that's why I've come down here. We're not having all of this. We're not having all of this rock revetment. This works in conjunction. So here at Larcombe, you've got the shingle beach, you've got the rock revetment, and then you've got all of the promenade, the concrete promenade, which all works together to reduce overtopping and erosion and flooding and everything else that's horrible that we really don't want. So, how does it work at Cleveleys? Well, let me navigate this puddle. There once was a puddle right up to a middle, never went there again, or something or other. So, as you can see, this, I can tell you for a categoric fact that joins up to that. And it's proper steps all the way up the staircase. And I saw them when they were building them, but you wouldn't have done, because they did all of this at the back of a fence, and it was all completely closed off all through the duration of the works. So at Cleveleys, we've got some, and at Fleetwood, round near the tower, we've got some rocks that go that way. There's just a small line of them, and they are over the top of the old toe of the old sea wall. So there is an end to the concrete sea wall up at Cleveleys, and there's a line of rocks that goes like that, and the rock groin will join up to the ramp, will join up to the line of rocks that goes along the toe, and then you'll get this effect, and it will all backfill and level itself out naturally with the force of the water. Now I've got some photographs, I do believe, of these steps during construction. So if I can find some, I will drop some in here, and you can have a look at what they actually built relative to what it actually looks like. And I've been on here many times and seen all of this walling, all of the sort of first set of rocks just completely buried underneath the beach. And of course it varies depending on the weather conditions and whether or not there's been storms, etc. So that's that bit. Right, I'm going to take you to Cleveleys now, and I'm going to show you what they're doing there. And then hopefully it will all make sense. So this all works in conjunction. This is a berm. This is not technically a promenade. You can walk on it, but that's why it's not cleaned up as often. It's part of the sea wall. So that's a spacing footpath. And then this works in conjunction. Any waves that get to the top turn and come back down. But like I said, this is different to Cleveleys. This gets much more aggressive weather. Right, off to Cleveleys now. And just like that, back to Cleveleys. So this is Russell Beach. This is where they're working at the moment because they're doing concrete. So there are groins all the way down to the boundary with Blackpool, which is where the shipwreck memorial is. and then they're going to be installed all the way along this beach so that they meet up with where we were at Larcombe, just at the side of Rossall School down there. Now, if you've been following Thornton Cleveleys chat, you might have seen somebody commenting that it's absolutely a waste of time because it's high beaches here and this is never going to build up and this is wrong and that's wrong and the other's wrong and all the rest of it. And you're probably wondering what's right and what's wrong. Well, for a start, these stones here that come, they do actually come in a semicircle. So they come in a semicircle like that round to there, and they're to protect a cable which goes underneath the beach here out to the wind farm, out to the offshore wind farm, and it goes underneath the seawall there where the telephone is and down Thornton Gate, and it goes to Hill House to the substation. So that's nothing to do with the price of eggs, but you can see just how much the beach has built up because all these rocks underneath the beach here have all disappeared. So that's point number one. These are our toe protection rocks. Because this is an old seawall, there's a mixture of different footings. And some of these footings have got sheet piles, some of them have not. Some of them are better than others, some of them are decent. So these rocks that run this way, they're called toe protection. And they sit across the toe of the seawall. So you can see here where it curves. It curves out the concrete under the beach to round about that point. And these rocks sit over the top of it, so they prevent all of the beach being washed away and scoured so that the seawall can't be undermined and it can't be tipped up. Now, I have actually put some photos on Thornton Cleveleys chat this morning of the seawall here in 2021 before any work started. And if you think that's low now, it looks horrendous. It's twice, 3 times as low as that. And the problem is that without these rocks and without the groins, the beach can just fluctuate and move about every time there's a storm condition. And that's why the work's being done, to stabilise it and to stop it from having such a big degree of fluctuation. Right, we'll go over there and see what they're doing. There's quite a few signs along the seafront which lead you to a QR code and explain in more detail online. So if you're wanting to find more out, there's loads of information online and on YouTube. So these guys are the concrete gang, and they've come back to Cleveleys and they're carrying on doing the concrete crossover ramp. So this is the same sort of thing that we've just been looking at up at Larcombe. The rock guys, the ones that are doing the rock work, they're still working round at Rossall Tower. And they're still continuing putting the rocks in for the groins. They'll stop at Fleetwood until they're finished, which will be sort of into 2025. And then they will come and join these people here and carry on building the rock groins. So this is a lonely little crossover ramp sat on its own at the moment in the beach with no friends and no rocks around it. But eventually it will look just like those ones at Fleetwood. And you're probably wondering why on earth it's stuck in the middle of the beach like that, where the Fleetwood ones are sort of further up here. Well, there's loads of work goes on to measure and monitor beach levels. So they know from historical levels that is where there's minimum level of fluctuation in the beach, and therefore the ramp is most likely to be visible most of the time. So they're putting the concrete formers on, and then they'll cast the concrete into it. They're built initially using ordinary concrete like you'd use to build a drive. And then over the top of that, they put a layer of really super strong, marine grade, super expensive concrete, which forms your top layer. So from that side of the crossover ramp, there'll be rocks going that way. And from this side of the crossover ramp, there'll be rocks coming up here to meet these rocks. So that will form sort of bays along the beach. And each of these bays will enable the beach levels to lift up. It will reduce the turbulence in the water so that the sand can settle out of suspension, and then the beach will gradually become higher and higher. So most of this rock, most of the time, will be buried and will disappear, and the groins themselves will float like that iceberg. It's very interesting. It's very interesting to watch. Final point, if you're wondering what the green pole is, just there underneath the jib of the digger, that's the groin marker pole. So that marks the end line of all the groins, and they sort of join up in a straight line. These groins look longer because the coastline curves outwards here and kind of comes back in when you get to Cleveleys. So I hope that's made sense. It's not some weird and wonderful conspiracy. It's just a proactive plan to reduce the risk of flooding and keep all of these thousands of houses and people and tram lines and sewage pipes and infrastructure and everything else that's behind us safe for the future. Much better to be doing this now than to be doing a mega clean up when there's been a serious breach. Any questions, just email me, jane@therabbitpatch.co.uk. If you want to know anything at any time, if you want the proper story, please come to me. And you can find me in the venue on a Thursday morning between 9 and 12. I'll see you later. Bye for now.